And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put On Waivers Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day, beautiful morning. Hear the birds chirping in the background a little bit. There you go. Out here, hummingbirds just went right by my car over here. They're out in droves today. I am podcasting with Ryan Holmes. He is podcasting off the shores of the Atlantic Ocean right now. He's slowly making his way back home as the as the
Yeah,
days go by on the East Coast. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been rainy out here this past week. I haven't had that, but looking forward to getting on that plane and going home.
The question. So, like the picture behind you is obviously from the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Did the Raiders win that day?
Yes, I'm almost positive that's the day they played the Browns. So it might have
Okay.
been 2018, Baker Mayfield's rookie year. They won 45-41. I believe it was in overtime.
That was that nuts. Yeah, that was that crazy. That was a crazy overtime game. I remember that game. But I just wanted to know. And I know a lot of Raider fans. We have a lot of pictures from games that, unfortunately, we did not win. We did not win. Um, thanks for everybody listening to us in Harrisburg, PA, San Francisco, California, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Portland, Oregon, where it's like 113 degrees. Um, Anchorage, Alaska. You can catch me on Twitter at RTPOW Podcast and RHOLM22 for Ryan Holmes. 858 429 is the text line. So we'll jump right into the show here. And I did see something the other day, and it said Richard Sherman is open to returning to Seattle. Is this a situation here, Ryan, where he's open to trying to play football anywhere at this point? Because as the interest dried up from Richard Sherman as far as this goes.
I think Richard Sherman's holding out for a certain amount of money. He wants to get paid. He's not going to go somewhere on a minimum deal. Um, he's going to want to go to a system that he knows. So I would assume that San Francisco and Seattle are up there. And Seattle's kind of in a wait and see game. They got to figure out what to do with Jamal Adams if they're going to extend him and what that cap hit's going to be before they can make a move on Richard Sherman. So if they can figure out the Jamal Adams contract in the next couple of weeks, I could definitely see Richard Sherman going there. That they need a veteran outside. Right now they have Witherspoon they brought over from the 49ers. They drafted Trey Brown, the rookie, and on the other side they have Flowers. So they could use a big corner, but I don't think Seattle makes a move here until they figure out Jamal Adams.
No, I don't think so either. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. The latest on the Rogers front, I got somebody a text line who wants to know about the latest. Here's the latest on the Rogers front. He's playing a mean set of golf with I think his pair beat the pair with Brady, right? He didn't beat Brady in
Yeah,
golf this week, and in golf this week, and it's golf this week, and there was no official to call pass interference on late in the game to cost him a chance to win the game, or a coach who didn't want to go for it on fourth down. I'm sure Rogers felt good about that. And then, like I said, like we can go back and forth, we can talk about it, we can say whatever we want. At the end of the day, he's going nowhere. He's
yeah.
under contract.
I think he said it. He's focusing on his mentals, as Marshawn Lynch would say. Like he's just sitting back, getting his mind right, and doing whatever he was doing, enjoying life. I think he does end up in Green Bay. Whether or not he takes a snap week one, I think is the question. But I don't think at this point they're going to move him. As much as the Broncos would love to have him, he's going to play in Green Bay this year.
Yeah, and I think that I think week one he'll be there because I think that he's not going to once he gets to that point and he knows he's not going anywhere. Like, is it worth it for him to sacrifice a game in the standings? Like, who do they play week one anyway?
No, I don't know. Probably a division opponent. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but you're
Yeah,
right. He only has a limited opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, and he needs home field again. So does he want to risk losing a game or two? It's really not going to help him in the long run. Miss those games, he's going to miss a paycheck. So I know money's not important, but those wins are. We get to this at the end of December.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm going to because I'm sure he'd rather play the game in Green Bay, even though they lost last year. Play the game in Green
Yeah.
Bay rather than play it in Tampa Bay or wherever or Los Angeles or wherever. The Packers are at the Saints. At, at the
Yeah, that's
Saints.
interesting.
I mean, he could play
I don't
hard.
think they can beat the Saints with Jordan Love.
I don't know if they could beat a lot of teams with Jordan Love. I'm not. I mean, I'm not. I can't say that at all. I did get a great Father's Day gift, and I got this. Like, you see these desks that rise up and down.
Yeah,
I'm this thing. It's got this desk feeling. I'm feeling like Tom Brokaw out this bit out here, man. This desk is a diesel, dude. I love this thing. I love this thing. I
it's
feel
on
like money.
hydraulics.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think this one I got a crank. It's not the motorized one, but it's still incredible.
Okay.
I still love it. I still love it.
My wife has a motorized one. I can hear it. She's up and down all day in the
Up and
bedroom
down.
working from home.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Multiple uses for this. Um, we go to a segment here where we talk about what we love, and what we hate about certain teams, and the Rams are a team that it's hard for me to find a lot of things that I hate about them, but we can go over some of the things that I love about them. I think one is the head coach and the GM. They're not playing games. They're not sitting there saying next year, next year, next year. They may not have a lot of draft picks. They might not have any draft picks, but I could say for them, if I was a Rams fan, I'd feel great about the fact that they have guys on that team who are just ridiculously talented. They have a coach who has their attention, and they're an organization who is they're out to win now. Like, they're not playing games. They're out here trying to win Super Bowls right now. They spent a lot of money on Jared Goff. They ended up going saying, "Hey, we're gonna go a different direction because we don't like Jared Goff." I mean, they're actually disappointed they couldn't start a backup quarterback in the playoff game they had against Seattle. I mean, it was kind of crazy. They also had one of my favorite receiving cores in all of football. They may not be the best, but they're one of my favorite with Cooper Cup, Robert Woods fight on, and then you got Van Jefferson and Deshaun Jackson is there as well. So the team is pretty well stacked. I know one thing I don't like about them, but I'll let Ryan talk about what he likes about the Rams.
Yeah, I think looking at it from a fan perspective, you hit the nail on the head. It's not quite fantasy football, but it's a fan's dream. This
Yes.
is a team that says, you
Yes.
know what, we're going all in. We have the head coach we think they can win. We'll use the resources. We'll trade whatever. And they like to accumulate star power. It's a detriment to the overall depth of the roster. I think something I don't like is they have a little depth. They're an injury or two away to key position from not doing much. If Donald goes down, Matt Stafford goes down, this team's in trouble. But again, they realize the quarterback we have, we know we gave him money. He's not the answer. We're moving on. They've made that determination. There's a lot of fan bases out there. I'm not pointing any fingers at the Raiders, so Raider fans don't take me wrong. But there's teams out there that he made a decision, Sean McVay, and he moved on. He was aggressive about it, and he didn't. He's trying to win. He's going all in, like on the poker table. He's not trying to go win 10 games and sneak in the playoffs. He's trying to win a championship. And
Yeah.
they have pieces to do it. Like you mentioned, Stafford, I think, is a big upgrade for them. And throwing to that wide receiver core, when you have Robert Woods, Cooper Cup, Van Jefferson, and now you mix in Deshaun Jackson, if he can give them anything on the outside and stretch the field, kind of in that Brandon Cooks role, and he
Mm.
only has to play 20 snaps a game, they're not asking him to be a number one wide receiver. I like their tight end and Higbee. I like the running game with Akers and Daryl Henderson. Those are good backs to have. Um, the offensive line is kind of a question mark. They're getting a little bit older at some of those positions,
Mm.
especially at left tackle. Um, Defensively, there's not a lot of depth, but they have two stars. They have Aaron Donald. They have
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, so they can take out the number one wideout or tight end. Ramsey can take out either one, depending on who that receiving option is. They can get pressure. I don't like their inside linebackers at all. I don't like their depth safety, and like I mentioned, I don't like depth throughout the roster. If they lose one of these stars, these Stafford, Ramsey, or Donald, they're in trouble. But those guys are going to stay healthy, other than Stafford, who's missed some time with some back injuries lately. But this is a team that's going all in, and they're doing everything they can to upgrade that roster, which is, as a fan, you can't ask for more than what they're doing.
Do you see them as a team that in the preseason and during training camp, just doing just the bare minimum, just with the veterans? I mean, they're not gonna. I mean, they're not putting anybody at risk. I mean, they're gonna use everybody on that 90-man just to. You won't see them take a snap in preseason, as far as this team goes, right?
I would be shocked if you saw Stafford play more than a series, and I would be shocked if you saw Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey play a single snap in the preseason. Yeah. And I would guess that Cooper Kupp's probably going to get some of that treatment. I believe he was injured towards the end of last year. I wouldn't expect him to play at all, and just get reps for the young guys. But those guys aren't going to play in the preseason.
No, not at all. So this is one thing that this is a very common. I'm gonna put up on the screen. This is a very common formation for the Rams consistently. Nobody has their players more tight to the line of scrimmage than Sean.
A lot of condensed formations.
A lot of it. I mean, it's just like you look at them on tape, you look at them and this is very common. So, could they use a little variation there? I mean, he knows more than offensive or more about offensive football than I do, obviously. I do think sometimes when they play teams in their division, like the Niners and teams like that, it gives them a little bit of an issue because they are, they're kind of seeing the same thing over and over again. But then, it's hard. It's hard for me to criticize that because they had Goff last year. I mean, Goff is a guy who did not inspire this play caller to get anything going to the point where he just got rid of him. I mean, he found a suitor. There's always somebody who would move on from him, who help you move on from a bad quarterback situation. You may not like him, but somebody else does. And the guy who helped draft him is now in Detroit, and now the Lions have a new quarterback. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But I like Higbee. I wish they could have kept some depth behind Higbee.
They don't have much behind him.
They don't have much behind them. So, even I did like the combination of Higbee and Everett. They don't have that anymore. Everett's gone. So we'll have to see what happens there. And they gotta play better against the 49ers. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Niners beat them twice last year, with backup quarterbacks and everything like that. So they gotta go. Sean McVay gotta go out there and find a way to beat Shanahan in that division.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what Matt Stafford does. If they can run the ball, if the Rams can get the running game going with all the play action and deep shots they take, because that's one thing Stafford never had in Detroit. He never had a running game. So he's used to slinging the ball down the field, and that's what McVay wants to do. Goff kind of couldn't do for them last year. He just didn't have the accuracy down the field. So they started some of that wide zone with Cam Akers, and then they pull the ball in, and they have Deshaun Jackson and Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson running down the field, and they're going to be able to score points quickly if they get the running game going.
I think Cam Akers too, and we'll end on this. I think for him, the question is, he had some breakout games. The Patriot game that kind of comes to mind on Sunday Night Football, where he kind of ripped them to shreds. My thing is, this is where you have a young guy. Can he play 16 games? I mean, that's the huge part about. It's a huge part of the season. Is can he play 16 games? I know they have Henderson to back him up as well, but I mean, Akers is a more explosive, kind of tougher runner than Henderson in my mind, and I think that he has to show as a young player, can he play 16 games for the Rams this year? And I think that's a big, that's a big thing for them, especially with the way they want to play football with the stretch running game and the shots down the field.
Oh, definitely. It's 17 games now too. So
17 games.
I would think they're in the market for a third down back if they can get a guy that's good in pass protection that can be a threat out of the backfield, like Jalen Richard. If the Raiders ever moved on from Richard, he'd be a great fit.
Get him out
with the Rams. So I think they're in the market for another running back that they could add after teams start making cuts, because I don't think they have a third down back on the roster anymore.
Yeah, the more and more the more and more you look at it, it's going to be hard to justify that Jalen Richard makes the team. It's really going to be tough. Let's see. We'll see what the Raiders do. See what the Raiders do. But then they do have Zay Jones, who doesn't do much at all.
He's a good cheerleader.
He is tremendous cheerleader boy. Like 4 catches a year. What do we? There's a lot to unpack with the Steelers here. So obviously the head coach, the GM, they are one of. I have never seen a position group like the Steelers in my lifetime. The way they have drafted wide receivers, it is unbelievable how many receivers this team has drafted over the years. I mean, just growing up with Heinz Ward, Plexico Burris, Sanders. Like, I mean, it's just like and they go to Toledo and get Deontay Johnson. Like, I mean, it's just so they just do a great job drafting wide receivers. Um, my question to you is, on the part that I don't like about the Steelers is is Harris going to be able to rejuvenate that running game? Because he's a fantastic runner, but the second part of running the football is the offensive line. Do they have the offensive line to go ahead and move people? That's the biggest question I have.
This to me is one of the bottom 5 offensive lines in the National Football
Yeah,
League.
that's not good.
To me, for them to go into the draft and say, "Hey, we have Ben Roethlisberger. He's approaching 40 years old. We couldn't protect. We couldn't run the ball last year, and then went out and got a running back and a tight end with their first 2 picks." It's kind of mind-boggling to me. If you look at what they have on the offensive line, they have next to nothing. And then David DeCastro retiring. I know they brought in Trey Turner, but he was just okay last year with the Chargers. So you look at that tackle situation with Okafor and Banner. Zach Banner, son of Lincoln Kennedy, he has hardly played in his NFL career. I know he got hurt last year. And then the backups there, they don't have much either. They drafted a guy, Dan Moore, I believe, in like the 4th round. But Ben Roethlisberger is going to be running for his life again this year, and then that running game is not going to get going if they don't move people off the line of scrimmage. And they're going to count on a lot of unproven younger guys to try to do it. And I just don't think they're going to hold up offensively to be able to do that. And you're going to see a lot of the quick, short, underneath passing game. And that wide receiver group is good. They do drop a lot of passes, though. That's kind of my one hesitation with those guys. You saw it a lot last year, but it's going to be a lot of dink and dunk, try to keep Ben upright and mix in enough running game. But I don't think Najee Harris is going to have a great year behind that one. I think you muted yourself.
I think it's gonna be a tough year for the Steelers as far as that goes. I just don't. I mean, usually they find a way. Like last year, they found a way. They found a way. They found a way. I just don't see that as being as being a good. I mean, unless the Browns really come back to the pack, and this could be a year where they win 9 games, 10 games. I just don't see if they're playing a poor opponent, they're not going to lose to a poor opponent. They're not. I mean, they're not. But there's enough good teams on that schedule where if you have a decent running, if you have a decent pass rush, a decent defensive line, they have a line where like an average offensive line can really wreck shop. Or excuse me, average defensive line can really wreck shop against that offensive line. There's so much inexperience there, like so much inabilities to kind of really move people as we see, they're not a great offensive line. And I think that's one of the biggest things, the biggest issue they have. I'm surprised in an offensive line draft where you could maybe gotten a tackle, you maybe gotten some really good players there. They went with running back, which is like usually a big mistake.
Yeah, again, the logic behind that pick with where they were as a franchise doesn't make sense. I know they couldn't run the ball, but we don't know if it was because they had bad backs. They had James Conner and Benny Snell. Those are serviceable backs. Jalen Samuels. So it was more it had to do with the offensive line, and then they just didn't address it. They didn't address it in free agency, and they waited till like the 3rd round to take a center and the 4th round to take a tackle. So we'll see. They still have enough pieces on defense to give teams problems. I mean, they still have Hayward. They still have Tuitt. They still have J.J. Watt. They still have Minka Fitzpatrick. I don't like their corners. Their corners are aging. Joe Hayden's getting up there. I don't like Justin Lane that much. Cameron Sutton's just okay. And I don't like their other safety in Edmonds. So, well, we'll see. It's a defense that's got some pieces and then it has some holes.
So you might as well. I mean, I think offenses should just if you're going to pass the ball, if you're going to pass the ball against the Steelers, just keep people in
Yep.
and and attack those corners. Another thing they didn't address really in the draft either. So they usually do a good job in the draft, and you kind of say good things about them. I just don't. I'm not in love with what this team has done as far as the season as far as the off season goes, and to 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 run off and get a running back in the first, even as good as he is. I mean, and we'll see how good he is. Like we don't really know how good he's going to be as a pro. He looks good in shorts and shells, but right now we have to see what he does when he actually gets banging in the regular season.
Definitely. And I think this is a team that's clearly lining up across the country. If you ask people, this is the third best team in that division right
now. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be hard to unless, like I said, somebody has. Usually, you have teams come back to the pack who made the playoffs last year. It's gonna really take a lot of falling apart for the Browns to come back. I mean, they can. I mean,
the Steelers. What division do they play in the NFC this year?
The Steelers. Who do the Steelers play? Don't they play the West? The AFC West? Steelers schedule. I know they play. Hello.
Yeah, you still there?
Hang on. It's my internet this week. Looking at who the Steelers play this week, kind of pulling up that schedule. Let's see here. That's the preseason. That first game is.
It's like the NFC North.
Yeah, the first game's. I mean, the first four is going to be huge. They play at the Bills, Raiders at home, the Bengals at home. Another year. We'll see if the quarterback comes back for the Bengals, and then we have the Packers. The Packers on the road. So should be interesting. Should be interesting to see what happens there. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, the Bears are not world beaters. The Lions aren't world beaters. We'll see what happens. That's one of the most interesting bad teams that I want to see play. To see how they actually react to Campbell. We'll to see with all the yelling and screaming and all the toilet paper talk. We'll to see what happens as far as that goes. The Washington football team. Are we done with the Steelers?
Yeah, we're done with the Steelers.
They're done with the Steelers. Hey, I can't say the Steelers anyway, so I'm talking about the Steelers anyway. That's enough. Enough Steelers talk. The Washington football team, intriguing team to me. And number one, I think the name is just kind of grown on me now, so just keep it. Like, don't try to. I mean, like the generals, the presidents, like, just keep it. But at this point, just keep the football. Just keep the name. At that point, I'm not. I love the defensive line. I mean, there's just the slew of young talent. I mean, Montez Sweat, Payne. I would take any of those guys in silver and black any day of the week. My God, like they just did a great job. They kind of that's really what they have done well. McLaurin is a really good wide receiver, along with Curtis Samuel. I think you can do some unique things with him. You can put him in the backfield. You can do a lot. You can screen passes. You can throw to him all over the place. I like that. I think the thing that really bothered me about their offseason, and then one of the things I hated was Like, you really rolling with that Fitzpatrick? Like you, I mean, like, one of my best friends from college who I share the same birthday with, July 2nd with, is he was a big Cowboy fan, and he says that like Tyler Heineke is playing great in OTAs and all stuff like that, but like, you got a chance to win a division, you got a chance to maybe get on a roll in the playoffs. You never know once you get into the tournament. How could they roll with this bunch of guys here, Ryan? As far as like, this is what you really want to go with going into the season, when you could have just maybe mortgaged your future a little bit and go get a Justin Fields, or even a Mac Jones at this point.
Yeah, this was my team that I thought was going to make a jump in the first round to go get one of those quarterbacks, and then started sliding. So Chicago beat him to the punch. If you threw a Justin Fields in the mix with this defensive line and the defense that's going to keep them in games, they would be much more scarier than they are with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's going to have those games where he's going to be unbelievable, and then he's going to have a dud. He's going to have a few of them. It's going to be every other week. This is a team in that division. They can still win the division. I mean, they're probably looking 9-8, 10-7, and hopefully compete with the Cowboys in that division. But I do question the offensive line. This is another team where I don't think they did enough on the offensive line around Ryan Fitzpatrick. So the tackle situation there is not ideal. And they're rolling with Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, and they drafted Sam Cosmi in the second round as kind of that swing tackle. They brought back Eric Flowers, who's, to me, is just a usable, serviceable guy at left guard, and we don't know if Sheriff's going to stay healthy. So this could be a team that's going to face a lot of turmoil along the offensive line. So are they going to be able to run the ball consistently and protect Ryan Fitzpatrick? I'm going to lean no, and that's going to lead to a lot of turnovers and a lot of head-scratching decisions from the fan base for the football team. But like you mentioned, that defensive line is going to get pressure. That front four is probably one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. They have some depth behind it. Matt Ioannidis is a very serviceable defensive lineman they can bring in. Tim Settle's a nice nose tackle to come off the bench. I don't know if they have another pass rusher besides those first two guys, Sweat and Young. So they may be in the market for another pass rusher, a situational guy. They lost Kerrigan. I believe he went to play for the Eagles. I don't really love the linebacking core. I know they took Jamin Davis in the first round, but to me, he's got a lot to prove. I don't love Holcomb and Bostic or the depth there. I do like William Jackson, who they went and got from Cincinnati. I think he's a very good corner.
Always love that player.
Him and Kendall Fuller, along with the rookie St. Juste, I think that's a very good set of three corners they can run out there. So this team can cover, and this team can get to the quarterback. You usually have a lot of success when you do that. To me, it just comes down to the offensive line and what kind of decisions is Fitzpatrick going to make. And history tells us he's going to be Fitz magic and then Fitz tragic. You just don't know which one it's going to be.
Do you feel like, I mean, this is a defense that's so good, you can, despite the coordinator, be able to because like, I mean, things just get, I mean, let's just be honest, things get, from year to year, things get a little stale with Del Rio. Comes in usually and does a good job the first year, and teams kind of figure it out a little bit, and they start moving the football against this team, and people are gonna hold, if he just tries to do his normal rush for, drop everybody else, they're gonna keep people in. And if they keep people in, as good as the cornerbacks are, and I do like Fuller, I do like Jackson's, the corner they got from Cincinnati. If they have to, cover for long periods of time, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, this is a team that they're going to have some struggles defensively against teams that can protect a little bit and have, good tight ends and running backs. They can get the ball too quickly in space. Where they can kind of neutralize the pass rush. So teams that throw a lot of screens, that have, a decent receiving back or a tight end that can play in the intermediate area. In their division, they're going to face a couple teams that want to throw the ball down the field in Dallas and Philadelphia. So they're going to be able to get pressure on those teams, but it's a defense that you can scheme up as long as you don't try to hold the ball. And if you stay, the down and distance stays reasonable and you're not in third and long, you're going to have some success. And you take your shots early, play action, max protect. first and 10 and try to throw the ball down the field. Some Yankee concepts or just, some 2 or 3 man routes. But if you're dropping back, if they get the lead on you, this defense can put you to sleep. But the problem is I don't think this offense is good enough to where they're going to be up 14 or 17 points on teams enough. So they just need some more explosive plays out of the quarterback position. I just don't think they have that on the roster.
Yeah, and I just don't understand. You would think a guy who, and I'm not saying that Justin Fields is Cam Newton, but you would think a guy who coached Cam Newton would be like all over and go, just kind of stop his foot and just say, hey, let's go. And Ron Rivera go out there and get a guy who can really be dynamic at the quarterback position and do some creative things as far as that goes. And like you said, staying on time against the Washington football team is huge. When you're trying to attack that defense, if you stay on time on offense, you should be able to get the football out and be able to make some plays as far as that goes.
Yeah.
So we got kind of went through a little our love-hate segment where we talked about the Steelers, talked about the Washington football team, and the Los Angeles Rams, who I can't wait to see that stadium. Going to see that stadium in week 4. Not to see the Rams, of course, not to see the Chargers, because nobody wants to see the Chargers out here anyway. To see the Raiders and Chargers play. So the kind of the extra home game for the Raiders as far as that goes. So speaking of the Raiders,